And a very good day to all viewers who are watching. This is Dad Rahman, and I'm back again on the sports show hosted by Vod Talk. You may remember that we've actually come back after a hiatus of over 3 years, what with COVID affecting our daily lives and the impact it's had, how it's actually changed our lives forever. So it's really good to be back. I've got a few special guests here with me today. So welcome back to all the viewers. Welcome back to all the well-wishers. And as you're all aware, this is a show where we use the medium of sports to tackle issues, to discuss issues pertaining to our daily welfare and which affect us as well, but also highlighting sports people who engage in sports. And it's not always those who follow the sports show and those who used to watch the sports show initially would remember that we always have a mixture of guests. So inspiration doesn't always come from people who are high achievers and multimillionaires in the world of sport as well. Sometimes you get people from our small inner city communities who may be engaging and participating in acts of great courage and valor and inspiration as well. So what I'm going to do today, without any further ado, is introduce you to two very special guests sitting on my left here today. So the first person, this young gentleman sitting on my left is, do you want to introduce yourself? What is your name?
My name is Mustafa Abedin. This might be a little bit surprising, but I'm also an author of Space Study.
Wonderful. So Mustafa Abedin, I can tell from your tone straight away that we're going to have a very, very busy hour here today. So thank you very much. And I've also got community volunteer, our local legend, Zoinul Abedin, who is his father and who is actually here as a chaperone. So the star of the show today is Mustafa, and me, Dad, and Zoinul here will be acting as chaperones for him. So already he has achieved hero status. So thank you very much, both of you, for joining us on the sports show today. What I wanted to mention to yourself and the viewers here today is I put some thought into my first guest, and I've got a few guests actually lined up. And having engaged with Mustafa for a while now, what I decided to do was have him as my first guest with the relaunch of the sports show. So we've got a new studio. You can see I've had a nice little rebrand. I was talking to my colleagues in the office and I was saying that I love the whole logo thing going on here as well. It's very my thing, very 80s retro going on here as well. And what Mustafa's dad and his family and his local community, what they did recently was they asked me to be his coach. So I went along just before the start of Ramadan to go and check him out, to be his pacer. And again, if you're thinking what I'm talking about here, you're absolutely correct, because we're going to come on to that very shortly. I don't want to give too much away without first having actually spoken to Mustafa as well. So I went and met him, his community, his parents, ahead of the launch of this very, very special initiative, inspired by a very, very special person as well. And what we're going to do today is we're going to spend this hour talking about it. So Mustafa, I understand, and obviously as your coach and your pacer, that you are participating in a walking activity during the month of Ramadan. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing?
So it's like 100 laps, just like Sir Captain Tom. He did 100 laps. So I think he gave me the idea of doing 100 laps around the Darul Magazbrook garden.
So you are going to spend Ramadan, the month of Ramadan, so approximately 29 days, 30 days, whatever it is, and you will be pacing the garden. And why is that? Are you bored? You got nothing to do? Why would you pace your garden?
Last Ramadan, we did a donation for the Darul Magazbrook. I raised 7,000, I think, pounds. And this year I'm trying to get 8,000, and we're doing the same thing, but like this time I'm doing 100 laps and different things.
Right, now it makes sense. So what you are going to do, so it's not because you're feeling bored during your Easter holidays or the fasting has got you if you're keeping fast during Ramadan and you just decided to go on a mad dash around the garden just to get your dad and mum chasing you around there. So what you are doing is you're taking part in a charity walk. Am I correct? And you're going to do 50 laps, 100 laps, and you were inspired by Captain Tom. Okay, and last year you raised about £7,000. That is phenomenal for Darul Ummah Gosbrook. Yeah. So this year you're hoping to better that by raising, how much did you say?
8,000.
£8,000. Which school do you go to, Mustafa?
Manor Junior School.
Manor Junior School. And how have your friends at school and your classmates and your teachers feel about some of the things that you do in the community?
My teacher is very proud. She always gives me house points, and she ever since I told her about the 100 laps, the fundraising, even my friends, they couldn't believe it. And at school, everybody's giving me lots of support, and I think that's giving me a lot of courage to do this.
Tremendous. That's a tremendous response from yourself. I'm really loving the information that you're sharing with us as well, because it's very, very inspiring, Mustafa. And that's really great, because sometimes what we need to do in life, if you're walking alone, pardon the pun, as you are doing as well, sometimes it can be a bit difficult. So if you've got a long road ahead of you and you're walking along, you can feel tired and you can feel thirsty and you can feel hungry, and sometimes you can also feel demotivated. But it's just like running the marathon, for example. If you're running along, when I did the marathon, what really helped me was people motivated me. So somebody advised me to put my name, this was my first marathon, to put my name across my chest. And they said, it'll make a difference when people call your name out. And it does. When people talk to you and encourage you and shout your name out, like you're saying your friends are doing, it gives you a boost, doesn't it? So are you going to walk on your own, or will you have people? I know I'm going to join you, but are you going to have other people joining you on this walk?
Yes, I will have other people joining the walk. People who see these videos, people who see the videos on YouTube, the sports show, they can join. You will be doing it with me. My dad can do it with me. My family,
Does your dad have a choice?
No,
I don't think I have any more. It's just getting me signed up live on TV.
Live is you've just signed him up. He's got no choice now. We'll have to share footage of him as proof to all the watching public, and everybody else will be watching it after that as well. So what's your favorite sport?
My favorite sport is football.
Football. Do you have a particular team you support?
Yes, Liverpool.
Great. I knew you had great taste there as well. So, and you play sports, you play football when you can? Yeah, as well?
Yeah.
So you're quite active. You play at school as well?
Yeah, I do play at school. I'm second best in my class.
Excellent. So, Zoinul, Mustafa's doing a tremendous feat here, and he will inspire thousands of people with what he's doing here. So he mentioned that the cause he's running for is Darul Ummah Gosbrook. Can you tell us a little bit about this wonderful organization?
So Darul Ummah, a lot of people may know, the main masjid or community center is based in Shadwell. So recently, a number of people have moved into Barking and Dagenham. And when we moved into Barking and Dagenham, the idea was, how do we curate a community facility where you can go and do a range of community activity, but at the same time pray as well. So we bought Dawatul Islam, who is the organization that runs Darul Ummah Masjid. They bought a care home, and after buying the care home, that was changed into a community facility with a masjid. And I've been involved with that project as a volunteer for some time. And then I've always been thinking, how do I get my children involved? And then Mustafa, being Mustafa, goes there regularly, enjoys that different types of activity in the masjid. But obviously, any kind of community facility, any kind of mosques run by a charity needs funds. And the building was bought with loans from the community, and those loans have to be returned. So this is what the fundraising effort that Mustafa is involved in is about.
And it's very impressive that he's chosen a sporting activity to do this. This is why I felt, because of your engagement and again using sports, that you were a fantastic candidate to be on the show. Can you tell us about Darul Ummah Gosbrook, why it's a happy place for you?
Well, it's not just a mosque. Like the local mosque next to my house, you just go there, pray, come back. Like sometimes you can sit there, do the and stuff, but here you do the same thing. But there's also there's activities, there's litter picking, and I'll speak more about that after this. There's activities, there's a youth club, and as I was saying about the litter picking, it's called the Little Litter League. Well, once you say it a lot, you get used to it. When you just on the same road around the mosque, we pick up litter, and then we pick up litter with litter picks. My brother comes in it too. My dad does it. You do it too, and we like some other people just crossing the road and having a walk. They also like tell us that we're doing a good job and stuff, and it's also very good for the community. It's good for animals, and it's
fantastic. So you picked up so much information. You shared so much relevant and vital and important information here as well. So you've talked about Darul Ummah Gosbrook being a happy place with you. In terms of, and obviously we know one of your favorite activities is litter picking, which you're very, very good at. In fact, I was your partner last Sunday when we did the litter pick, and we got loads of bags together as well. You wouldn't think that you'd be able to collect so much, would you? During a simple, I think we did less than an hour on that day because of the Salah time. We did less than an hour. We came up with 22 bags, because I always keep account of the bags that we collect as well. Zoinul, how important is it for Darul Ummah Gosbrook and the people who attend and the musallis at Darul Ummah Gosbrook to actively engage with the local community?
I think it's so important. We say masjids are, or any kind of community facilities for everyone. But does our action and is our doors open for the community? I think that's so critical. So a activity like litter picking, anyone can take part. It's nothing to do with religion. It's to do with something good in the community. So we need more of that. And a lot of the outlook in terms of the way any kind of community facility is designed, you have to make sure that people are welcome. And that, I mean, in the sense, it's not a carpeted area that someone who's not come to pray is able to go into that space with shoes on, for example. Like sometimes those little things go a long way of enabling the community think that I can go into that space. So we have a lot of non-Muslims who are not necessarily part of the masjid will come into the mosque, ask for different things, any issues going on. We've recently had the Safer Neighborhood team ward panel meetings in that building. Now, those people coming into the meeting, into a space where it's not carpeted, they sit down, they have a meeting, and they say, oh, this place is nice, I'll come here regularly. So it's not an alien place. And I think that's really important for us to connect. And one of the main reasons why we started litter picking around the masjid is because suddenly you have a new community coming into an environment with a hat, with a beard, with long jababs, etc. And then suddenly the community thinks, who are these people? Someone alien has come into their space. But if you go and do activity like litter picking, it doesn't matter who you are or how you're dressed, they will say, thank you very much. You're doing a good work in the community. So it's those little things go a long way. And particularly for young people, someone like Mustafa, like saying to him, come and pray every day. After a while, he's only 9 years. Are you 9? You are now, mate. So a 9-year-old Mustafa will get bored over time. So they need activity. They need positive activities. So even in the masjid, we've got a snooker table, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, and so it's little things like that. For anyone else, it may be like even musallis, sometimes older generation, look at these pool tables, etc., and they think, should that be in the mosque? So we've got the other trend in terms of traditional
Yes.
people who've always seen mosque in a particular way suddenly think, why are they playing football in the garden? Why are they doing a cycling club? Why are they taking kids to do football? They should be praying, etc. But our important element is for younger generation to love their masjid, to love their community center, and for the wider community feel that these Muslims are doing good work in the community.
Fantastic and articulate points by Zoinul there as well. And who can argue with such wisdom? Now, what we've been touching on is the sporting element. And as you've just realized from what Zoinul has articulated, how the masjid itself has been using sports activities. And they've just scratched the surface as of yet. So using sporting activities, football in the garden, for example, walks with Mustafa, and other related activities. Even a litter pick can be seen as an activity, which obviously you're walking around. You can do this on your own. I sometimes go out and do a fast-paced run. If I'm not running or cycling on that particular day, I might go out for a litter pick. I'll do it fast-paced to build up my heart rate. So all these are activities which are centered around sports, and all these are activities which are bringing people closer together. In fact, after we launched Mustafa's campaign just before Ramadan, I had a number of people, about half a dozen people, who actually commented, and they were very, very gracious. And they mentioned the fact that they were inspired by not only Mustafa as a 9-year-old, 9-year-old, and a primary school child doing what he was doing for the Darul Ummah Gosbrook through the medium of walking, but the fact that he had actually highlighted the necessity of being involved in sports and how we can use sports as a medium to unite the community. Sports has no colors, it has no faith. Everybody's faith and everybody's color is something which is associated with sports, and it helps us greatly come together as well. Now, Mustafa, in terms of your walk, if you're fasting, you won't be eating and drinking. Do you do a warm-up beforehand, warm-up afterwards? Are you planning to do all this? Because there's going to be a lot of media attention based on what you're doing. So will you be warming up beforehand, or are you just going to run out in your PJs and go and do it?
Well, obviously, I have been fasting. I fasted on the first day of Ramadan. I fasted, it was really good. The next day, I didn't wake up for suhoor because I was too sleepy. But then I went to bed early. It was really good, and I really liked fasting. But as you said, there's going to be a lot of just we're going to do the interviews where we're going to have to go to the mosque. We're going to have to do loads of things. So as today we doing the interview, my mum said I shouldn't fast today because I need some energy to do this interview.
So it's all her fault.
Well, it's true because I'm getting kind of tired of talking so much, sir.
Okay. So she's a wise woman, your mother. So Zoinul, before we come back to Mustafa, how important is, obviously nobody can actually dispute that, but how important, why is it vitally important that parents, or we have a single parent family, how important is the role of parents and elders when it comes to nurturing our children in this manner? So Mustafa just didn't wake up one day and decide to do a charity walk, raising, between these 2 years, he would have raised between 15 and 20,000 pounds potentially. That just doesn't come out of the blue. What role do parents and educators and mentors play in nurturing our children in this regard?
I think it's really, really important, particularly parents initially, to take an interest in children. And listen, you were 9 years once upon a time. I was 9-year-old. I would never sit down in a studio when I was 9 and give an interview. I would be horrified. If I think about my journey and think about when I was a 9-year-old and what I was doing, never in my lifetime I would have thought that I could do it. And secondly, that I would ever have my son coming on and having that confidence to talk. And a lot of that becomes sometimes we as parents think our child can't do this. There's a lot of in our mindsets, or we don't want them to expose to that environment or that space, or they're going to get tired, or this is going to happen. Unless we give that encouragement. Once we give the encouragement, the world is oyster for them, innit?
Absolutely.
What they can achieve is any child can do it. And just because Mustafa's sitting there and he's got support from you, me, and his mom and others, doesn't mean another child can't do it. Any other child sitting in this chair could actually achieve a lot in life. And I think that's critical for us, particularly for Black and minority ethnic communities, where we don't see role models, where we don't see people of color making success in the community. It's so important for us to give that nudge to our children to say you can do it. And I'm sure Mustafa will share it. And he introduced himself as saying he's an author of space study. And I'm sure he'd want to talk about that. And that was a simple idea during COVID that came up, discussing with him that what you want to do. And he's into writing stories and etc. And it was like eventually he wrote a whole book on it, a whole story about it. So I think for us parents, we shouldn't think, like a lot of the time, any good work we're going to do, there's always negatives that will come into an adult's head. And we have to put the negatives aside and push our children. Once we push them, they can do anything. It's amazing how that transition can happen and how comfortable they become. So Mustafa, with me and you today, is very comfortable. And obviously, the other side to it is you taught Mustafa when he was slightly younger, in terms of Quran and Arabic and Hadith, etc. So he's got that affiliation,
Yes.
and that comfortability and that relationship with you, with me, and it's a network, in it. It's not just the parents; it's other people within the network that can support. And the most important bit, part of the important bit, is the family. So the family, he's got older brother, sister, he's got his mom, he's got extended family. Everyone's supporting him on that journey, and that's quite key as well.
Wonderful words. So if you're a parent who's listening, hopefully these words from Zoinul, we're not here to parent anybody. We would never do that as well. But these are very, very valuable words. My advice to anybody who's watching is please watch them, take notes, but also reflect upon what's been said here as well. There's no exact science when it comes to parenting. So we at the Sports Show, we like to talk about a holistic approach to all manners of things, including our young people and how we can use sports as a medium. So it's not just a case of Mustafa just waking up one day and decided to do a mad dash in his garden as well. There's been a whole hold. You know, when you look at a team, when you watch Liverpool lifting the Champions League, so we get to see the 11 players on the pitch and all the squad and those on the substitutes bench who actually make it onto the turf on that day. But aside from them and the manager, we all realize, those who know anything about sports or anything about teamwork and anything about success will realize that there's a whole host, there's an army behind these small number of people who are actually making the magic happen. So when you see someone like Mustafa, Marching Mustafa, as we've called him, we've actually given him a hashtag, Marching Mustafa. So when you see people, young people like Mustafa, excelling in their fields and inspiring every single day with their wonderful examples, just remember there are a lot of people behind us. So that we just touched on the points that they have their parents, brothers and sisters. So he's the youngest in the family, so he's had the good fortune of being counseled by his parents. He has the advice and support of his brothers and sisters, but you've also got big extended family network. You know, he's got uncles and aunts there who will be always encouraging him, giving him words of advice, mentoring him, donating towards his causes. Now, you touched on an important point there, which is writing. So I know you enjoy creative writing quite a lot. So without me speaking too much, you wrote that was your debut book, and it was called Space Study. Can you tell our viewers about Space Study?
Well, it's a made-up story, obviously. Space Study. I mean,
No. It's a made-up story. You had me fooled. Okay, carry on.
well, of course, there's also a thing called a Space Study, but
I'm devastated, Mustafa. I am devastated. Here's me thinking now for the last year that this is a true story.
He's been dreaming about Space Study.
Space Study. And now you tell me live on air that this is the shock of all shocks. You know, that Mustafa live on TV, live on air, he breaks my heart. He tells me that Space Teddy is a fictional character. Right, carry on before we do more damage. So what is Space Teddy about?
Well, it's about it's just like some people think like, oh, it's just a teddy that saves the day from a meteorite, from aliens and all of that, but it actually has some friendship to it. He becomes friends. Well, I put myself in the story. Mustafa, his dad, he can't watch TV with him, and then he has to go save the world and everything. And then he becomes all bossy. But then, right at the end of the story, he wants to watch TV with his dad, and I think everybody would like to read it. Adults, children, even some of my cousins, they come and read it. Some of them are like old people. Some of them are like teenagers, and like they like to read it even though they're not young, like my age. So I think everybody can read it, and I think everybody will enjoy reading it.
So when you did your first print run, your first few copies, you decided to donate them. So you weren't selling them. What you did was you donated them. Do you know who they went to? The first print run of books that you did.
The first print,
Let's see if you remember.
I think it went to my cousin. Or,
No. Well, might have been. Yeah, might have been a few copies.
A few copies to my cousin, but like worldwide, and other people, strangers that I don't know, I gave it to you.
There we go.
Yeah, book like London. You took the books, you gave it to the refugees, like as you spoke of it, just like at the start of the show. And I gave you 5-10 copies, I think, around that number.
Excellent. So you just reminded us. So that was, I was hoping you'd remember that as well. So what happened was Mustafa's first print run, and he gave me several copies. What we actually did was we just on a whim, me and his dad, we decided to do a little picture in his local park with our bike, Book Bike London, and his books. And then the local press actually picked it up and they put him front page on the Barking and Dagenham Post, and you know he got tremendous amount of publicity. And then kudos to Mustafa for that, because it wouldn't be picked up by media unless it was a hugely inspiring story. But I know of several young students and young people in the local area and in East London in general who, having watched his escapades on social media and read about him in the Barking and Dagenham Post, that they've also been inspired now to take the next step. So what Mustafa did was he didn't make a commercial decision to sell his books, you know, to the highest bidder or try and find a publisher. But he allocated 10 books, and these were handed out to refugees newly arrived to the country and also homeless families. So we have 3 homeless hostels in Barking and Dagenham. Now it's 2. Since then, one has closed and been amalgamated with another homeless hostel. So in one of the hostels is specifically for homeless families. So I identified with him a set number of families and handed the books out on Mustafa's behalf via Book Bike London. And the response was tremendous. And we received lots of thanks from people who, you know, who struggle with things like having access to the internet, and books, things like that are luxuries to them. So it was really, really good touch on your behalf. So are you planning to write any more books?
Well, I'm thinking of writing a Space Studies 2, Space Squad. Like I got loads of different ideas. I'm still thinking of which one I should do next. And as we were talking about my school a few minutes ago, my friends, my teachers are always asking me what my new book is about, and also my dad, my sisters, especially my brother, he keeps on telling me when you're gonna open your new book, and I'm working on it. I'm still thinking of what I'm gonna make it about, and this time I'm gonna put a moral into it.
Excellent. So we'll keep that secret for now. We don't want to spill too many beans live, should we say?
But I think just to touch on that point, because you made me a little bit emotional. You know, when you said on the book that you want to watch TV with your dad,
Yeah.
and then the Space Daddy goes and saves the world because they can't watch TV. So do you always want to watch TV with that book? Is that what you enjoy? Is that?
Yeah, I do.
Excellent.
The only movie that we get to watch is what's it called? Baby's Day Out, because it's the only thing that he pays attention to. The other things he falls asleep. I just hear snoring in the background while I'm watching.
Oh, blimey, you're not supposed to say that on live. Come
Here
on,
we
that's
go.
between you
Another
and me.
expose. Another expose live on air. Another exclusive expose live on air by Mustafa as well. So very well done for speaking on that.
But so the point I was trying to make
Yes.
for parents is like, subhanAllah, it's like so important to do those little things with your children that they
Exactly.
enjoy. And for adults, it might not be a big deal, but obviously for children, it's a big thing. So those special moments and creating these moments from a parenting perspective is very powerful.
What Zoinul just said there. So these memorable moments in life, they are actually forged within these very, very simplistic gestures and actions and moments as well. Sometimes what we do as parents is we become blindsided in our pursuit for absolute happiness. We fall into the trap of assuming that, you know what, we've got to take out a credit card and spend hundreds and thousands of pounds, tens of thousands of pounds on expensive holidays and clothes and lavish lifestyles. And I know quite a lot of parents, because my children would one day leave home and I want them to leave with fond memories. But just judging by what Zoinul and Mustafa just touched on here, for parents, if you're watching, it's all a load of nonsense, to be honest with you. The most simple acts, which actually cost no money, and children, all they do is they crave attention. They don't care what it is. They just crave that attention. And Mustafa just put it in a nutshell for all of us, which we're very grateful for. He said that for him, a great way to spend time with his dad is actually just sitting there watching TV. I mean, you can't get anything as cheap as chips, cheaper than that, and more simplistic than that as well. So parents, if you're watching, sometimes you can feel a little bit demotivated, thinking, you know what, especially on the sports show where we address issues like this, you know, as a sporting parent, if your child is participating in sports and recreational activities, it can be quite demanding on yourselves. It can be quite taxing up into a lot of people. It can be quite stressful as well, traveling here, there, everywhere, following your children out, trying to help them realize their dreams. On that basis, Zoinul, because this is the sports show, what role does sports play and how important is it in terms of our general, our local, even our national and global engagement with fellow human beings?
I think one of the simple things, learning from my own experiences, and we sort of grew up together, but I was much older than you. But although I still look younger than you, but that's another story for another day. But one of the things I experienced when I was growing up, it was like at the time, you either play football or you do drugs. So we had no other choices in the community because drugs was a new thing coming into the community. Now, for whatever the reason is, because I chose football, today I'm here sitting with you. But if I chose the other part, it would have taken me who knows where. And I think that's why those positive activities, whatever the sports is, and it doesn't have to be football, does it? Otherwise, all the women and all the girls and his mom will be complaining. So it could be badminton, it could be whatever type of sports it is. Get children loved on that, because otherwise they get hooked on PlayStation or TV or various other games, Nintendo. Although you've got rules how many times you can be on the Nintendo, but it's not. It's the tech world now. But when we were growing up, we didn't have the tech. We had the football, so it was actually easier for us. This generation is much more difficult for them, and that's why we as parents have to work extra hard to engage children in the park, take them out, play football, take them to a football club, take them to a sports club, whatever it may be. It's easy for parents, isn't it?
Yes.
To give them the PlayStation, to give them the Nintendo, and say, okay, let them to it. They're not like keeping us. They're not hassling us. And I think that's totally wrong. Like, we have to get them, and it's just a physical exercise as well. The level of issues, not just in our communities, globally and nationally, on obesity, the amount of people who are overweight. Why? Because the term couch potatoes, because they're at home, they're not doing any exercise. It's key. And I think that's one of the things, like, forget about sports, just get them to walk.
Yeah.
Don't take the car for a walking journey. If you can go 5-10 minutes walk to the local shops, do that rather than go in a car. So these are simple things that we can do in order to get, and all children, unless you introduce them to sports, how do you know they're going to like it or not? We often hear, we would say, oh, that child doesn't play this sport or is not interested in this. They're always interested in something, but you have to show them. You have to let them experience it. Mustafa even goes taekwondo.
Taekwondo, yeah.
Yeah. So do you enjoy taekwondo?
Yeah, I do. It's fun. We do sparring too. And obviously the teacher says loads of times not to like hit too hard and everything like that.
Don't knock anyone out.
No,
Yeah.
Especially us two now.
Yes, somebody knocked my teeth out last time, so they did. But
Yeah.
I am about to put my guard up. Mustafa, who's your favorite sportsman or woman? Do you have somebody who you consider your favorite?
Well, I do have one, Mo Farah. He's a very
Good choice.
inspirational man. Yeah, he is a very inspirational man. He's a very good runner. He's the same religion as me, a Muslim, but it doesn't really matter. A Muslim, not a Muslim. Like Usain Bolt, he's the fastest person ever. He's very fast. He's not a Muslim, but he's a role model too. But I just like Mo Farah. But other people, other sports. It's not even sports. Like other role models. But and it's like it doesn't matter the gender. It doesn't matter what skin color they are. Anybody can be a role model. Like me, I'm 9 years old. I'm here having an interview on the sports show. And Mo Farah, he runs, and this is a matter of sport and running, doing 100 laps. So I think he's the way he inspires people would be very good for what I'm going to do this Ramadan.
Amazing. Very, very good. Very, very good response, and explained very, very well. So before I wrap up, Zoinul, just one last point. You've touched on a lot of, you've this throughout the program as well. So there will be parents watching yourself and Mustafa on the sports show with VOD Talk today. Obviously, this will be shared because of the power of social media. This will be shared hundreds and thousands of times. People all over the globe will be watching Mustafa and his inspiration. They will look at your position as a parent and they will think, I can do that. What simple tips can you give them? Because not everybody is capable. We know that for a fact. So some people will be looking for some further advice or some tips. What can you offer them in terms of that?
Yeah, the simple thing is make an intention of whatever you want to do. It may be today watching this video and then thinking, okay, this is great, I'm going to share it. It could be something simple as that. It could be that you're inspired and you want to get in contact with Mustafa and be part of the challenge and join us. It could be that you want to contribute or donate to his Just Giving page, for example. Whatever it is, do something. Don't be a silent observer. Don't be a spectator, because there's a lot of people spectating. But how many people actually want to be in the field? How many people want to play? How many people want to be part of it? Imagine the other day I was in Darul Uloom Gosbrook and an 8-year-old came up to me and he said, you know that child doing the 100 laps, can I join him?
Wow.
And his father's not even in the room and he's coming and asking me. So Mustafa is inspiring not just that 8-year-old, but loads of other people. Now, my request and ask to everyone else who's listening, more importantly, they're watching it. I'm thinking I'm on radio,
Yes.
I'm on TV today.
Yeah.
So whoever's watching, like do whatever you can to get the word out, because this 9-year-old is inspiring people, and let's give him the motivation and the encouragement.
Amazing words. Now, just to wrap up, Mustafa, he's a 9-year-old. Typical 9-year-old. He's not even a tearaway teenager yet. That's still to come in the future. But as I've mentioned right at the beginning of the show, the sports show is designed to bring out these gems from within our community. So it's not just a case of bringing on Mike Tyson, although we'd love him on here as well, to the sports show, or having Mohamed Salah coming in, or the Bangladeshi cricket team coming in as well. Who knows? We may actually have them one day on the sports show. But the ethos behind the sports show has always been to, yes, we will have these big names from time to time, but we will focus on bringing out these gems like Mustafa from within our community and highlighting what they do, but also using their example and their achievements to inspire a whole generation and a whole cohort of people. So Mustafa has, for now, taken up walking as a hobby. Walking, we know, is walking, rambling, hiking, mountain climbing, whatever we want to talk about it. People do mega treks, 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers throughout, during the course of a weekend. So walking is something which has taken up, which is becoming more and more popular as the days go by. Since Mustafa launched his mission, his walking mission, just using his humble garden laps as well, several people have actually come forward. Some groups have actually made inquiries regarding this as well, just to not to seek our permission, but just to talk about what motivates him, what's the thinking behind it, how is he doing it, etc. So that can only be a good thing. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to wrap it up, and I would like to say a massive thank you. I've missed you all Mustafa, did you have something else to say?
What I said about Liverpool, I support Liverpool, but Man City fans, I know there's a lot in my school. Man City is doing very good, so keep on going and we can keep on speaking now.
Oh, thank you very much. And like I said, Man City fans, maybe they need some fans in the first place anyways, because they are really struggling on that front. You know what, they might be the richest club or one of the richest clubs now in the world, but they are really struggling from that. And I do not mean any animosity when I say that. But like I was just saying as well, it's wonderful to be back with the sports show. And all I want to say is thank you, everybody. Hopefully we'll be seeing a lot more of each other over the course of the next few weeks, months, and years as well. This is Mdad Rahman, the Wandering Londoner, and I'm the host of the sports show. Thank you very much for watching.